When I say I'm not a normal 18-year-old, it's a difficult one to articulate because there is no such thing as a normal 18-year-old.
I don't think I've ever really met a Muslim female artist. It's not really an option. I'm quite stubborn. Like, if I want something, I'll go and get it.
I don't really care, to be honest, how people look at me or categorise me. It's not something I subconsciously think of, but they probably just think I'm like some bold exoskeleton alien. Well, I'm really not sure.
I've loved art since I was tiny, but I was always told that I wasn't good enough. I'm just as normal as everyone else. I just need the same opportunities.
I definitely identify as a queer artist. A lot of the art scene is dominated by straight, privileged British males, and I think it's important to reference the politics of your identity, and for me it is anyway, and those are definitely issues that I bring into my work. Queerness in relation to London, or queerness in relation to gender, just being a queer, fabulous individual. I was making all this artwork about identity that I wanted to really track the root of my identity, especially being from Palestine, which is essentially kind of like a disappearing country. Well, it has disappeared. It's kind of sad to be from there, but people always told me that you should go visit it and see for yourself. And I had just like booked the tickets. I was like, yeah, I'll just rock up like this, blah, 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 open arms. And then I just realized that that was actually quite problematic in occupation to turn up like fabulous. I always think within my artwork, I have this little slogan, which is like empowerment through embarrassment, because a lot of my films are performance-based. So I often take these characters out into reality and film kind of banal tasks or exaggerated everyday activities.
My mother's from Manchester, she's white British, and my father was from Libya. Manchester's her home. It's our home as well. Manchester's definitely a little haven for us to be able, for a lot of different communities to be able to feel safe. Definitely ours. Because as soon as we leave Manchester, I mean, it's a different story. Even a little bit outside Manchester, I'm just like, all right, if someone stares at you for too long, just walk away. No.
I don't think you're a danger to society.
A lot of people do.
I'd be sad if they think that.
I think it was as soon as I started wearing the hijab that people started treating me a bit more differently. My mannerisms always have to be very friendly, very smiley. Things like that, making sure that, you know, they know I'm a normal person. And I never thought I'd have to be aware of that when I was older. I think me going into illustration is quite an unusual move, because I've known so many Muslim girls that I've kind of grown up with who've actually are a lot better than me at art, but they've just decided to abandon that and go for something like medicine. And the art world doesn't really seem like something a Muslim hijabi girl can really go into. I think the fact that the Whitworth is giving us a voice is really just giving us the confidence that we need.
I have something called complex regional pain syndrome, which is often shortened to CRPS. It's a condition that basically, like, the muscles and whatever was wrong to start with heals, but the nerves don't, and they just keep on repeating the signals of the pain over and over. It's rated more painful than having an amputation of like a finger without anaesthetic. It's above childbirth. And I have to deal with that every day, 24 hours. I live at the moment in supported housing. I officially came into care the 13th of January last year. I had at least 12 weeks before my 18th birthday, which meant I would be, as the lovely legal title, as former relevant child. Because I've got as many issues as I do, it's meant that I'm still technically living in a children's home because there's nowhere that can meet my needs. There's just such a lack in the housing system. I want people to see me as a person, not like this load of post-it notes over my face that says, hello, funding opportunity. Because no, I'm not that. I have an interest in the arts, and sometimes, don't get me wrong, using the labels can be helpful, but not without my bloody permission, it's not. But I want to take the piss out of something again, and this time make an art piece. Taking the piss out of the fact that I don't fit into a particular box, and trying to fit me into a particular box can do a lot of damage.
I remember coming in and thinking it'd be similar, almost like a young offender, so I was like almost like ready to be like on my toes. But then I came and I think I was either greeted by yourself or Steve, and it was just like, no, this is a little bit different.
Many students come here in a mess, be it emotionally, behaviourally. They could have great anxieties for whatever reasons. They might have been bullied in school. They might have suffered some sort of a trauma.
So my relationship with my grandfather was like not too much before he got sort of diagnosed with cancer. Obviously made his passing a lot harder, but you know, I'm very grateful for getting to know him a lot more. He epitomised what family kind of meant to me. I suppose he's my like real sort of like father figure. But it's fascinating to experience death for the first time, because that is very present in life. Like, it's the only fact of life, almost.
Will was very, very quiet, very, very shy. His hair was like a curtain, and he would hide behind it. He wouldn't eat with anybody else. He'd be on his own the whole time. He was offered £10 to have his hair cut. So with that haircut and opening his face to the world, there was a new Will. And it slowly, very slowly, Will grew in confidence.
People always tell me, like, you can take the girl out of Streatham, but you can't take Streatham out the girl. Streatham is, like, it's really interesting, but also crazy as hell at the same time. To know that there's areas within the same city and the same landscape which make huge amounts of money, it's kind of ridiculous in my head. It's like a ridiculous concept. So to kind of like go there, become it, infiltrate from within and exploit is, I think, quite a funny concept. They're just kind of like so masked and so straight. There's just something really disturbing about those areas.
I met Rudy in my foundation year in college, and she was definitely a part of the Whitworth Young Contemporaries, and she really wanted me to get involved with it. That definitely gave me the confidence to go for what I really wanted to do, which was illustration, even though it did seem a bit more like a dream. But my mum was always like, when I was younger, she was like, your community is on your shoulders, so the way you act is how people are going to take away, what people are going to take away from it, from your whole community. It's not fair,
yeah,
but it's the way things are. You heard what someone said to me on the bus.
Yeah, that was...
Do you remember?
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it.
I don't really...
Because it's a really bad word.
Yeah. Everybody in that room at some point has had something said to them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like, our group walking around had weird looks because we're in foundation because we're so mixed.
Yeah.
So what is the piece title? I had a really good idea yesterday, actually, because the phrase "no longer relevant" sounds like a really good name for an exhibition.
I like that a lot. I kind of wonder if maybe, say if it was like a wall that we made, then I kind of see you coming in, you trying to push it through one side as sort of these really perfectly outlined shapes, like a triangle or squares. And then you actually go around the other side once you've pushed it through and you see that actually these shapes weren't nearly as perfect as you thought to start with.
So I suppose, you know, we've got to try and get in there that you feel like a number in the system and frustration and things.
If I try and tell people what's going on in my immediate situation, you kind of get the mix of sort of 3 reactions, sometimes 4 if you're unlucky. First one's like, oh dear, that's horrible. Second one, well, we can't do anything about that, so I don't understand why you're talking to us. Third one, well, we're here, but we don't know how to support you. Fourth one, why the fuck would I give monkeys about that?
The exhibition that you created was just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing, like how you could tell it was your ideas that had gone into it because it was so out of the box, and it was like, yeah, this is definitely what Will's mind thinks like. With the whole skate park in the gallery, I mean, who would ever even think of doing something like that?
Galleries kind of treat, or tend to treat, those kind of schemes as a way of bringing in a younger generation but not allow them to do anything. Yeah. Whereas what I wanted to do, something which had an end result.
We turned this into the plaza. One of my things was like, oh, I'd love to be able to either work with an artist or create a work that can be skated by the public. Just because then it takes away this don't look, don't touch, it almost to an extreme level. On a base level, the viewers that come will go, oh, it's a skate park and a gallery, whereas the reality is it's a retrospective and a follow-on from the history series of a local skate park that used to be here, that used to see people come from California to skate. So some people would like jump off the ramp and hit the wall and then jump back in. Here we had like a rail that we got fabricated. The idea was similar to these railings. I thought, how do we make these skateable? One thing I was adamant on was having contemporary work put on an equal playing field.
But that's why this skate show is so successful, because you traverse both things. Is that you communicate to your local audience, but also it picked the ears up of a sort of international following too.
I see so many links between art and skate culture because it's an inherently individual creative sport. It's just a place where they can actually just be themselves.
I just have large chips, please.
One large chips and one cone of chips.
One large chip and a cone of chips, yeah?
And did you do cold drinks? Glitch when it came along with the gallery, that was
In theory, yeah.
a turning point, wasn't it?
You know, that was the first opportunity to see creativity as a potential avenue.
The shift was after and you started entering the world of I suppose like the world of Adam and the galleries and you changed.
Well, I remember school was like, it was crap, don't you think? Didn't want to go to university. I thought it was stupid. I just thought it wasn't accessible to me. I just thought we wouldn't be able to afford it. But I joined Tate Collective, and then that was more interesting than university. And when I met people at Tate who worked there and other Tate Collective members who had gone to university and were speaking this, like, I don't know, academic language or art language, which I didn't really understand, like, I guess I wanted to go.
I think what you were craving for was to meet people who had the same sense of commitment towards the arts.
No one really did.
No, exactly. But if you go to college and if you go to university, you will be with people who love art as much as you do.
Sort of a hobby that I do have is to be able to draw people, but sort of candidly, so they don't know that I'm drawing them. I go off how I feel when I'm doing the sketch. So somebody will come by that I'm inspired to just draw straight away, and I'll just let the pencil take over. I don't think too much about it. I just draw what I see. This is degree level work that I did for second year, and it was to create a story. So I decided to create a story about two opposing planets that are joined by one tree. So it was one planet sort of powered and controlled by robots, and another planet that worshipped the tree that it joined them together. And with these opposing ideas, they had to learn to live in peace. I know what that sounds like. Some people have related it to Israel and Palestine, but I mean, that wasn't my idea at the beginning, but it's okay if people want to believe that.
I think it's quite good that you have to like interact with it, like you physically put something through it and you kind of...
Yeah. What you see on the outside is like this grey polished, perfect, clinical, yucky edge. You kind of see how foul it is with all the bits that make up it.
The care system's one of my least favourite things on the planet, I have to say. I think I'd much rather clean toilets than be in it. Children always have like a box, and then it has specific shaped holes and it has specific shapes to fit through them.
It's designed to look like it's badly built.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes it
it's just a
quite
really
a lot
realistic,
easier for us, isn't it?
Yeah. That's great. Then you smash the fuck.
What would you say like the next year or so is looking like?
That's what scares me, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like the thought of your 21st.
Why is that such a thing?
Because I might not be here.
Where would you be though? Do you know what I mean?
Up there, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I'd already be down there.
When my mum was diagnosed, I remember, like, I've still yet really faced it and come to terms. There's been a few instances where I've been, you know, kind of took from the left and been like, wow, okay, this is real.
And I've got, you know, say, I don't know, 3 to 5 years or whatever. Because once the stages start moving, they move quite quickly. I have to believe that that's there.
What's there?
That there is somewhere else after this.
Have to? Just for it to make sense?
There is another life after this. This can't just be the end. At the age of 50, it can't possibly just be the end.
In my head, I was like, okay, I've got two options here. Either stop what I'm doing creatively and just be there with her and support her and nurse her to wherever the destination is. Or I quick step all of these activities so she has things to be proud of or distract from herself. And it's like, the true answer is that it's somewhere in the middle.
I live in a family with 4 brothers and 3 sisters, and I'm the middle child. It's pretty insane to grow up in a house with so many other siblings. There's just so many different voices, so much happening. So my mum's always pushed us to be very opinionated and have our own individual opinions as well. I was awake during the time of the Manchester bombings when I actually saw it on the news, and it didn't even feel real at the time. It didn't feel like that was something that could happen in Manchester, even slightly. We found out about his name and his Libyan heritage. It was just a big, big letdown, to be honest.
Even amongst all that cohesiveness and people respecting each other and people coming together, I think we all still felt it. When you went into work, you didn't feel apologetic, but you're just like, I know that people are going to be asking questions. Yeah.
My brother-in-law was at the time one of the first responders to the Manchester attack, and he couldn't believe it either.
I felt like I was really in the middle of it.
Yeah,
on one side I was dealing with the patient, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was dealing with the patients and hearing all about that side when I was at work, and on the other side, you guys just being in complete shock. I think one thing that was really strong that the Libyan community came out and said was, this is not anything to do with our community. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with us, in the same way that any terrorist from any background does not represent your community. And just on the point when I'm in hospital is that there's thousands of Muslim doctors, there's probably loads of engineers, loads of people in dentistry, but I don't think there's enough influencing the newspapers or in art like Fatima's doing. That's what we need, I think, because then people will actually
influencing others.
Yeah, exactly. Start seeing that, you know what, Muslims are progressive, you're getting involved.
If you love being told don't do that, you'll like it here. I moved because I felt there was no other option, you know? Like I'd had it enough of here. This kind of environment creates keeping everything internal until an explosion. I'm really intrigued by things that shouldn't be possible, because I had the idea of the store. I moved to Shrewsbury in January of this year. The question a lot of people ask me is they always kind of tiptoe around it and then go, how did you pay for it? They're like, because you go someone, I run a shop, they're like, oh, he's rich, he's got money. It's like, I probably earn a lot less than my friends. But basically finances was partial savings, really minimal, and then a loan through my mum's name. That's where my mum's always been supportive in what I do, so a lot of parents may not have done that because it's a risk.
Someone said, oh, does he give you a discount? I went, no, I had to pay full price.
Yeah. And then said, does he give himself a discount?
And
no,
then Lizzie said, I can't afford his prices.
Yeah, no one can.
He knows everything that's in that store. If I go there and I sit there and I move something, he knows instantly that it's not just so.
I went from no knowledge, no experience, to having to understand commercial leases back to front. The aspiration is not for it to be a retail place, it's to be a cultural destination.
I think you've always had an old head on your shoulders, so I think you've just grown it quicker. Because, you know, I don't know, say where some of your friends are now who are in their 20s, you were there when you were perhaps 14 or 15. You've always sort of been a bit sort of ahead.
I always question, though, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because it's like people go, oh, yeah, that's cool, but they're only really saying that because it's different.
Have you missed out on stuff
that's
because
the thing,
of it?
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
and
but
when
then
it
in reality,
suddenly hit you, when you're 30 or 40 and you'll go nuts.
Yeah.
Hope so.
When I'm on my way in, it depends where I'm going into. If it's to go into the gallery, then it's like, woohoo! I'm really excited and I really want to go in because it's like one of my favourite places. For me, it's just, yeah, it's home. The shapes that we're all making are like people. Everyone's unique. Everyone's different sparkles, different glitter, different Play-Doh, different amounts, la-di-da-di-da. But when you actually look at the social care system, it expects people to fit very specifically into certain categories, and it doesn't deal with people in between very well. This is kind of demonstrating the damage that it does to force people for a shape that doesn't fit them.
I'll pick up whatever it was that you have on there.
That's beautiful.
I've got to put it in the box now.
There you go.
The piece, I think, has worked quite well, but it's also breaking rather quickly. Eventually it should break, but it shouldn't break as quickly as it has today because the system's not like that, unfortunately.
The way I guess my mum has informed me as an adult, she would, when we were kids, she'd always like tell us to really go for what you believe in. And being a disabled woman herself, like coming from her, it was always more empowering just because she has more constraints. And I think that's always been transferred into my nature. It's been inherent in me to kind of go for what you really believe in. She definitely is like #1 role model in many ways. Curation is like a regular occurrence in my life now because of Tate. It's definitely taught me to think in different ways as well. I don't know, to be programming stuff in Tate when you're like a teenager, it's kind of like a bit of a dream come true, really.
Tate Collective, a group of 15 to 25-year-olds, and we curate events like tonight. There's like no hierarchy, and feel free to say what you want to say, and we'll do questions at the end. So I just want to hand over to Finn now, who will introduce your panelists, and yeah, thank you for coming.
In the arts a lot at the moment, like galleries are finally picking up on queer artists or artists of colour and stuff like that. So I feel like there is definitely a future for queer artists in general, and there should be. Like, it's definitely something that's breaking through at the moment and will continue to for like decades to come.
I'd really like more Muslims to be involved with the art world, but I think we've got to meet halfway on either point. So it's got to be more accessible for Muslims to be able to come into galleries, and hopefully I'll be able to help that along.
To be able to make artwork that people enjoyed and thought was amazing and got the same feelings as I get on a daily basis was just, I can't even describe it.
The overall ambition for the store is basically turning downstairs into a gallery of sorts, where I curate
but wouldn't you
exhibitions.
like to have that ready for the winter, so that there's somewhere for people to go in the winter?
Yeah, and there's no reason really why it can't. The bench on the seafront has been a close companion through many a challenging time, but it's always there, it always will be there. You know, there's no judgment there, it's just let's just sit down, think about what we're doing. And it's the idea of fleeting moments, because they're the things that really matter in life, and that's the magic. Like that split moment of just authenticity and being in the moment is like, that's all life is, really.